Welcome back to Cards and Comics, guys. I'm here in Hamburg, Germany at the Steigenberger Hotel at a quality and food safety conference. I've been here since Monday afternoon. Unfortunately, KLM lost my luggage, and I have not had any of my luggage since I've been here. They cannot find it. So I had to go to a mall, buy some new clothes, and unfortunately, the mall I went to, the grocery store that was inside the store and the company that makes the razors and combs, they're having a issue with each other, and they're on a strike or something's going on from a labor perspective, and all the products have been pulled from the shelf. So I don't have a razor or a comb. I got actually a comb at the hotel, so there's that. So it's been a little bit of a rough week, not having my bag. I actually brought with me some Topps Heritage and Bowman box each to open for fun while I was in Germany, because I know there's a lot of downtime in between conferences, and it was always something I like to do just to have something to remind me of home and fun with the hobby while I'm kind of stuck in a hotel for a few days. But that didn't happen. The other thing that's fun is there's no air conditioning. It's pretty warm. So I just have a little fan next to me that I have off right now, so it doesn't create a lot of noise, because it is very noisy. So that's a lot of fun too. So anyway, back to what I want to talk about. That is, this hobby and PSA in general doesn't really ever fix anything. And what I want to talk about is these stories that are now popping up about these fake cards and holders, or fake holders, probably with fake cards in them, that just got reported. And, this idea of, the FBI and the U.S. Attorney District in New York, doing this investigation, finding that there was fraudulent cards and, and fake holders. And, that is something that has happened before, for one thing. And it's just, we've had this issue with the holder for a long time. Now, the one thing that I would say is that the fact that PSA has a brand protection team working with the FBI shows that this is a common occurrence. We'll talk about that in a minute. But I was just on Clemente Collector's channel talking about, if I was PSA, what would I do? Well, one of the things I mentioned was the number one thing that PSA is afraid of is this exact scenario, this fake holder situation that's been going on for a long time. And the thing that is really funny to me is the fact that no one's really talking about the fact that this story broke on May 23rd, that there was fake holders being out there. And then just 9 days prior, now let's say 9 days prior, PSA announced they're changing their holder design. That's not a coincidence, because I've been involved, because of how I work, where I work, litigation and these kind of charges take a long time. I know for a fact that PSA would have been informed a long time ago that this investigation was occurring, and they were going to work with the FBI, the district attorney, on determining, what was fake and what was real, right? So that was going to be PSA's role in this little scandal that just came about. So PSA knew about this a long time, and PSA detected maybe there's something we should do on our holders now to fix an issue that may have been exploited by these scammers. And then they announced prior to the press release about, they announced prior to the press release. Okay, so they had, I'm pretty sure, pre-warning about when this press release about this case was going to come out, so that they could go ahead of it by a little over a week with an announcement about their holder, to try to be like, oh, we're changing the holder because we just want to be better. It has nothing to do with $2 million of cards that may have been affected, or the fact that you've got all these past issues, for someone selling I mean, they have 8 cells worth almost $250,000 right here. So it's just like a lot of money was spent on cards, probably in fake holders, right? And so PSA, knowing that this story was going to break, I believe changed their holder to prevent this issue from happening more often, which is a good response. But my question to you guys is this: how many times has PSA changed their holder and it not fixed the issue, right? So there may be something more that needs to be done than changing thickness or plastic quality or whatever they're doing, because they talked about durability and aesthetics in this announcement. Collect, they don't, I don't think in this announcement at all do they talk about that it's going to significantly affect the ability to prevent fake holders, right? Um, like they talk a lot about the look and feel. In fact, they say you can just feel it by just holding it in your hand. So there's a lot of discussion about how the holder feels and the design and the look. But this press release came out 9 days prior to a ginormous scandal over fake holders. So, do you believe that PSA's redesign was because they want to improve durability and aesthetics, or do you believe it's because they were prior notified of a major scandal or a major criminal activity due to fake holders that they needed to probably get in front of with a redesign so that this maybe is either not doesn't happen again or curbs that behavior, right? So you might be thinking like, how often does this happen? Like, what's going on in the hobby? Maybe this is just a random event, and that this has nothing to do with the holder's design. Well, if you go back in time, just do a quick Google search here. If you go down to Collectors Universe's own message boards, there were stories about fake holders back in 2012. So, 12 years ago, we were talking about fake holders. And if you look at it, if you just scroll through here, you'll see stories almost every year about fake holders. Here's one in 23, here's one in 22, here's one in 2016. Scrolling down, here's one in 2014. There is stories and people talking about 2016 fake holders in the hobby. And for anyone who's been around a long time, there was the When It Was a Game scandal, which Google it. I did a video about it, but again, it's cards and holders that have a fake flip. In that case, fake flips, or it's a complicated story. It's real flips, but the holders were cracked, and then they put fake or lower graded cards with real flips and cards and reseal. It's complicated, but let's just say that the card and the grading wasn't authentic, and the cards, were basically in fake holders. Let's just say that's the When It Was a Game, short story. Go look it up. It's a really complicated story. And one of the people who were involved in that whole story still is a massive seller of cards on eBay. So again, the hobby never fixes the problem. Those guys who committed that fraud are still selling cards, and PSA hasn't really figured out how to fix the holder, right? So let's go back to the idea of what would it take to actually fix the problem? Okay? What would it take to fix the problem of cards and fake holders, or holders being, basically manipulated? Okay? So, in my opinion, what I would do if I was PSA, I would hire, some engineers, some materials design experts, package engineers, material experts, to come up with something that basically you can't alter, change. It falls apart, or something that basically you cannot alter the holder without it being basically either shattering or whatever, and it doesn't affect the card, right? The question is going to be coming down to this as a collector is this: would you, as a collector, basically have this idea that if the holder is so, let's say, hard to open and basically disintegrates, or something just dramatic has to happen to get the card out, which has a high potential to damage the card, would you be okay with it? Meaning that you grade it once, it's pretty much stuck in that holder forever unless you come up, or PSA has to be the one to take it out. They have technology that can take it out of the holder. Because my theory is this, that PSA wants the holders to be able to be opened so that cards can be resubmitted, so that a percentage of their sales comes from resubmissions. So if they make the holders too hard to open or could damage the card, then that will curtail a significant piece of the business. Maybe it's 10%, maybe it's 15%. I bet they know. I bet they know the rate that collectors resubmit. I imagine they've done some study and some focus groups on that whole piece of the business. So this is where the hobby is at a crossroads. It always is, right? Because money is involved. Money's involved in two ways. The cost of redesigning, the cost of innovation, the cost of losing business because cards can't be resubmitted at the highest rate that it is today. Or collectors have to live with cards being graded one time and that's it. You get one shot at getting your 9 or 10. Are you okay with that? Or do you want cards in holders that can be opened so that maybe fraud can occur as well? What do we want? I think it's really an interesting topic. It's something that this hobby struggles with a lot, is how much do we want there to be these hard line, bright line standards so that nothing can be faked or altered, but that takes away our ability to regrade cards and make more money. It takes away our ability to take cards out of holders and maybe do something else with them, but it also takes away some of our ability to create scams. So let me know what you guys think about it. Do you think that PSA just changed the holder for funsies with no intent to make it easier or harder to create situations like this, or do you think they just it just was coincidental? And secondly, my question is, do you think that if the holder was so hard to open, it could damage cards to the point where that was a likelihood, and so people really didn't open holders anymore? Do you think that is a viable hobby solution, or do you feel like there's always going to be some level of the holder has to be able to be open, so therefore there could be a chance of fake cards, lower grade cards put into holders, or some sort of shenanigans happening with the holder? Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you next time on Cards and Comics. Bye.